Hello, and welcome to a spooky Halloween edition of Art Online. Today we're making a Yayoi Kusama-Inspired paper mache mini pumpkin. And what I'm doing right here is mixing up a little bit of paper mache. I'm using some white glue and a splash of water just to water it down a little bit. So that's some liquid white glue, and then I mix in a splash of water and I mix that all up really well together. And that's going to be my mixture to make my paper mache. Thorough mix. So I'm going to begin to build my mini pumpkin by crumpling up some papers. And as I crumple these papers, I'm going to use a little bit of tape. Any kind of tape will do it. And I'm going to make sure it stays in sort of a ball shape. And I'm going to try to form um, all these crumpled up papers into a little pumpkin shape. I added a piece that will be my pumpkin stem, and I'm just continuing to crumple up paper and add pieces of tape. It's really up to you how big you want to make your pumpkin. You can go super small and make a teeny tiny pumpkin, or you could go all out and make a giant pumpkin. Just depends how many layers of that crumpled paper you add. Um, you could make a Cinderella sized pumpkin. All right, that's looking pretty good for my pumpkin shape, mini pumpkin made out of crumpled up paper and tape. So I'm going to start to apply my paper mache. So I use a little bit of scrap paper, and I think that thin paper works pretty good for this. Even a paper bag or newspaper is a great thing to use. So I take my scrap paper, which I rip into little strips. I dunk it into my glue mixture. Then I lay it over the pumpkin shape that I built and smooth it down so that the paper really, really sticks to that pumpkin form. When I dip my paper into the glue mixture, I use my fingers and I take off some of that extra liquid, put that back into my cup, and then I'm just layering up this paper, laying it all over the pumpkin shape, and I want one solid layer in the end where I can't see any of that tape or paper anymore. And because this is coated in that glue mixture right now and it's wet, it sticks really nice and folds over the shape that you built. But when it dries, it will dry solid and hard, so you'll have a a permanent sculpture that you created. All right, now that my paper mache pumpkin has fully dried, it is time for me to paint it. And I'm going to get a little inspiration from Yayoi Kusama, an artist who loves pumpkins and loves polka dots. So, taking some cues from her style of making pumpkins, I'm painting my paper mache mini pumpkin yellow. And I'm going to go with a yellow and black color scheme on this pumpkin. But of course, any colors would work. You could do a classic orange or any color that your heart desires. So putting a layer of my yellow paint all over my paper mache, cover up that newspaper, start me off with a yellow layer. Next I'm going to take some black paint and I'm going to paint that stem. And where the stem meets the round part of the pumpkin, I'm going to make some little points coming off of that, and that's where I'll make those pumpkin lines come down. So a couple pointy parts at the bottom of the stem. Just adding a little bit more yellow in some places, especially if I see any paper showing through. I want to make sure I cover that up with might require a second layer in some spots. Next, starting at those pointy spots at the bottom of the stem, I'm going to draw some lines that go all the way down the pumpkin and end right at the bottom. While I'm doing this, I'm trying to be a little bit careful not to put my hands in the lines that I just painted. Now it's time for some polka dots. So in each section of this pumpkin, I'm gonna make some polka dots that go from the stem in a line down to the bottom. The last thing I'll do is use a Q-tip with a little bit of paint on it to make some even smaller polka dots. I'm going to put those on each section of the pumpkin as well. 2 lines that go from the stem all the way to the bottom of the pumpkin. And my final touch, I'll also put some polka dots on the stem.